The Legend of Zelda has been around for so long that there are numerous themes that appear in many of the games over the years. One of those are Link's companions or partners, and today I thought it would be cool to take a look at some of them. But what defines companion or partner characters? Some people would include Epona, for example, but I think companions serve a bigger function than just transportation or one type of gameplay function. That's why I won't include Epona or Link's Loftwing, as well as Lineback or any of the other side characters that, travel with Link. There's a number of things companion characters do in a Zelda game. They act as guides, they show the player gameplay functions whenever they're introduced, as well as remind us when a perhaps seldomly used technique needs to be implemented to defeat a boss or something to that effect. Other times they replace event markers by telling us where to go, which I think is a better way to go than just having something on screen all the time telling you where to go next. That makes the experience much less linear. I'm speaking directly to you, Pokemon Sun and Moon. A lot of the time, companions can also provide extra gameplay functions. That way, not everything has to be mapped to a different button, and it can serve as a way to give those characters more purpose. And this last point may be overlooked by some people, but it's right there in the name. They provide companionship and give you that feeling that you're not trekking through this big world just by yourself. I'll be going through a list of companions I think are very noteworthy for whatever reason. It's just going to be an opinion thing, and I already know that there's going to be people disagreeing with me because Navi is going to be high on the list. Also, you can expect spoilers from this point forward. Faye from Skyward Sword is an interesting one. First of all, I'm not sure if the pronunciation is correct. I used to always say Fee, but looking into it a little bit more, it looks like Faye or Fi is more accurate. So I'll probably just randomly go through all the different variations of pronunciation. But yeah, she's an interesting one because not only does she serve as a way to humanize one of the series' most iconic items, the Master Sword, but Fi also provides a backstory as to how the sword got its power. Fi appears rather robotic in her appearance, thinking, and tone of voice. Apparently they've got access to autotune there. It's the whole can robots have a soul theme just adapted to fit into the space of a Zelda game. It's not something we see or expect in this franchise, which makes the whole situation rather unique. Her usual over-robotic analysis of various situations adds a bit of humor, and it's also nice to see how she later at the end actually shows some emotions. Another thing I think is really good about Fi is that she indirectly enhances other Zelda games now that we have the knowledge that she's within the Master Sword. Skyward Sword is canonically the first game of the timeline after all. Skyward Sword may sometimes be criticized for all kinds of things, but I think Fi is probably one of the best things to come out of that game. Next up, it's the King of Red Lions from The Wind Waker. In addition to the usual tips and hints, the King of Red Lions is also a boat and an essential mode of transportation. Unlike other companions, the boat isn't with you at all times, obviously, because he has to be in the water, though the pirate's charm allows him to contact Link when he thinks he needs to. I find the relationship between the boat and Link really interesting. He's a bit like Link's mentor who shares his words of wisdom with Link. Since the King of Red Lions is later revealed to be the King of Hyrule, it does make sense that he'd come across as a wise man. He also has a sort of reassuring vibe to him that you get from someone you know who knows what they're talking about. I think a lot of people who played The Wind Waker probably realized right away that the old man in the beginning of Breath of the Wild was also the King of Hyrule. Both characters give off a similar feel. Some people will disagree with me, but I'm placing Navi from Ocarina of Time in the second spot. A lot of people find her annoying, but I think these days it's a bit of a bandwagon people like to jump on. Whatever your opinion is, Navi is the first companion character of the Zelda series. I think she did a good job in her intended purpose. You have to remember that this was the first 3D Zelda game, and it might have been very likely that Ocarina of Time could have been someone's first, or at least one of the first 3D games they ever played. In order to aid the player, Navi was also the targeting system. Depending on what color she glows, it allows the player to quickly see whether whatever you're targeting was an enemy or not, or just something of interest. I remember playing this game when it came out. I was a computer gamer at the time, so I found Navi's hints and advice really helpful, so any annoyance I might have had when she popped up at an inopportune moment wasn't really a big deal for me. I also have a tendency to forget gameplay mechanics, so I'm quite glad that Navi keeps reminding me about stuff. Also, undeniably, Navi is part of the image that a lot of people see in their head when they think about Zelda as a series. She might not be the most liked character, but she was the first companion character, which I think is very important. And because I like when games leave things up to the imagination, I can appreciate the fact that we actually don't know what Navi looks like, which I think is an interesting concept considering that she's by Link's side for the entirety of the game. And on the top of my list is Midna from Twilight Princess. I allow myself to be flexible to change my favorites depending what mood I'm in, but Twilight Princess frequently occupies that spot. Part of that reason is Midna. At first she comes across as a slightly hostile little imp-like smartass thing. You don't really know her agenda at the beginning, but she later ends up trusting Link as they both work together for a common goal. She gives out the usual tips and hints, but you also access some really important gameplay functions through her. For example, you can reach inaccessible places through her, and you can also change between human and wolf form, not to mention Midna is the fast travel system. On top of that, she even participates in combat. I also think that the moment when we see Midna's true Twilight Princess form at the end is quite a powerful moment. There's a bond between Link and her that you can really see. Midna is a really good addition to the game's story overall. And you can get into all sorts of discussions like light versus dark or Zelda and Midna being different representations of the same person. I always like when games make you think about the story or its meaning. But I won't get into that in this video. Using facts and observations to come up with a bizarre theory that doesn't make any sense is someone else's job anyway. Midna has had a lasting effect on the series too, since she was so integral to the story of the game, unlike Zelda who was more in the background a lot of the time. Later games have tried elevating Zelda's story involvement. This is very evident in Skyward Sword, where they make Zelda and Link childhood friends, and in Breath of the Wild, where she telepathically communicates with Link in order to guide him. In the end, it's only 4 companion characters I talked about, and that's mainly because those are the ones that really stood out to me. But that doesn't mean it's not worth talking about other companions. Let me know in the comments who your favorite companions of the franchise are. I'd love to hear whether you agree or disagree with my opinion, or if you've got some interesting points to add. Remember to like the video if you did, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. You might also notice that there's a join button now, so that thing you can do with other channels is a thing here now too. If you become a member, you'll not only support the channel directly, but you get exclusive behind the scenes updates, and you also get to see most of the videos early. Patreon is of course another way to support me other than just watching, and through that you can even get your name on the end cards, which may be on the screen now or will be on shortly. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you again in the next video.